In today's world of constant connectivity, where every success and setback is broadcast to the masses, the art of silence has lost its voice. Yet it is this very silence that the Stoics held as a shield against the chaos of everyday life. The question we often forget to ask ourselves is, what power might we reclaim if we chose to share less? Today we will explore this forgotten strength, drawing from the profound depths of Stoic wisdom to uncover why keeping certain things private not only protects us, but empowers our journey toward a fulfilled life. Join me as we step back from the noise and rediscover the potent force of quietude in guarding the most pivotal aspects of our existence. This is not just about learning when to speak, but mastering when to embrace the silence that speaks volumes. Before we dive into these ancient secrets, I invite you to subscribe and share this video with others who are on their own quest for personal growth and deeper philosophical understanding. Today's discussion might challenge skeptics and provoke deep reflection as we tackle concepts that are as controversial as they are transformative. Stay with us until the end to fully grasp these Stoic insights, which could radically alter your approach to personal and public life. Trust me, the revelations we're about to explore are worth pondering, and they just might change the way you see the world. Your future plans are delicate, like seeds planted in the ground, waiting for the right conditions to grow. And just like seeds, these plans need protection, time, and care before they're strong enough to withstand the elements. The Stoics understood this principle well, often advocating for a quiet, steady commitment to one's goals rather than loudly declaring intentions. The ancient Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to practice restraint in all things, including his ambitions. By staying quiet about our plans, we give them the chance to grow roots, deep roots that keep them steady even when things get tough. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of a new goal or vision. The moment we feel that spark, that burst of inspiration, there's a natural urge to share it. We want others to feel our excitement, to join in and cheer us on. But here's the thing. By sharing your plans too soon, you risk exposing them to negativity, doubt, and even envy, elements that can quickly snuff out that fragile spark before it ever has a chance to catch fire. Stoicism teaches us that our happiness and peace are found within, not from the approval or validation of others. When you reveal your plans prematurely, you hand over a part of that inner peace to the outside world, and that's rarely a safe exchange. Think about it. How often have you shared a dream or goal only to receive reactions that were less than supportive? Maybe someone dismissed it as unrealistic or told you to be practical and consider something else. Those reactions, even if not intended to harm, plant seeds of doubt in your mind. Suddenly, a goal that felt so alive and possible becomes shaky, weighed down by other people's opinions. The Stoics taught that our minds are powerful, capable of withstanding hardship and pursuing virtue, but only when we guard them against unnecessary influences. Keeping your plans private doesn't mean you're living in secrecy. It means you're practicing patience and wisdom. You're giving yourself the space to work without the burden of external pressures or judgment. When an artist creates a masterpiece, they don't display it for the world to see while it's still a rough sketch. They work in silence, taking time to craft, refine, and perfect. Only when the work is ready, when it's strong enough to stand on its own, do they unveil it. Your future plans deserve the same level of care. There's also a psychological element here. Every time we talk about our plans, we get a little burst of satisfaction, almost as if we've already achieved something. Our brain rewards us with a small sense of accomplishment, which ironically can reduce our motivation to keep working on the goal itself. It's like running a marathon and celebrating at mile 1 instead of saving that energy for the finish line. This is why the Stoics advocated for action over words, urging us to let our efforts speak for themselves. Success doesn't need an announcement. When you achieve something real, people will see it. They'll feel the impact of what you've done, and the results will be the loudest statement you could ever make. Protecting your plans also safeguards you from people who, intentionally or not, might undermine you. Not everyone around you wants to see you succeed. In fact, your ambition might bring up insecurities for others, reminding them of their own unfulfilled dreams or missed opportunities. They may subtly discourage you or downplay your vision, perhaps out of their own fears or doubts. By keeping your plans to yourself, you create a quiet, safe environment where your goals can grow without the interference of others' insecurities. And let's not overlook the practical side of this. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes we need to pivot or change direction. When you keep your plans private, you give yourself the freedom to adapt without the pressure of explaining yourself to others. You can adjust your path, take a new approach, or even abandon a plan if it no longer serves you, without anyone questioning or doubting your choices. This flexibility is a gift, allowing you to move forward in the way that's best for you. Guard your future plans like treasures. Let them grow in private, away from prying eyes and unsolicited opinions. Nurture them in silence, allowing them to build strength until they're ready to be shared with the world. And when you finally reveal them, let it be after you've put in the work, after your vision is fully realized, and when your actions speak for themselves. In this way, your success becomes a testament to your resilience, your discipline, and your ability to move forward without needing validation. Life is full of struggles, and no one escapes them. In fact, the Stoics taught that struggles are not just inevitable, but valuable, essential experiences that shape who we are. But here's where they give us timeless advice. Not every struggle needs to be shared with the world. Some struggles are better handled in quiet reflection or within the trusted circle of those who truly understand us. Just because we're going through something challenging doesn't mean we need to make it public. In a world that seems to thrive on oversharing, the wisdom of Stoicism tells us to pause and consider the impact of revealing our deepest battles. Our struggles are personal, and the Stoics believed in facing them with resilience and dignity. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher born into slavery, endured hardships most of us can't even imagine. Yet, he didn't go around proclaiming his suffering to everyone he met. Instead, he found strength in quietly facing his challenges, understanding that his struggles were part of his journey. He taught that while we can't control the hardships that come our way, we can control how we respond to them. And that response doesn't require an audience, especially with those who don't have our best interests at heart. We open ourselves up to judgment, pity, or even worse, manipulation. Not everyone who listens to our problems genuinely cares about our well-being. Some people might listen simply out of curiosity, while others might see our vulnerability as a weakness to exploit. It's a hard truth, but one the Stoics would advise us to accept. Seneca, another great Stoic, warned about sharing our inner struggles with just anyone. He knew that only those who genuinely support us, who stand with us unconditionally, are the ones worthy of sharing our deepest battles. There's also a profound strength in handling struggles privately. When we face our hardships without feeling the need to broadcast them, we allow ourselves the space to grow internally. We become resilient, not because we seek external validation, but because we learn to trust our own ability to overcome adversity. Think of it as building an inner fortress. Every hardship we endure privately adds another layer of strength, another layer of wisdom to that fortress. This process shapes us in ways that public acknowledgement simply can't. Of course, I'm not saying we should bottle everything up or pretend we don't need help. Stoicism isn't about denying our emotions. It's about controlling our responses to them. We all need support, and we all have moments where sharing with the right person can be incredibly healing. But the key is discernment. Not everyone deserves to know the battles we're fighting. By choosing who we open up to, we protect ourselves from the unnecessary noise of judgment, superficial sympathy, or unwanted advice. We shield ourselves from people who might talk about our struggles when we're not around, spinning stories that aren't theirs to tell. The Stoics believe that our struggles are our own, not something to be shaped by others' opinions or perceptions. When you reveal too much, you risk letting other people's judgments influence how you see yourself. A single comment, a doubtful look, or a dismissive response can amplify self-doubt. Suddenly, your struggle feels heavier because you're carrying both your burden and the weight of others' perceptions. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within, from a deep sense of self that isn't swayed by the external world. By keeping certain struggles private, we maintain control over our own narrative. And here's another aspect. Privacy allows for genuine healing. When you're not explaining your struggles to everyone around you, you give yourself the space to process your emotions, understand your pain, and find clarity. There's no pressure to perform strength for others, no need to rush your recovery, or to appear fine for the outside world. You can confront your pain on your own terms, allowing yourself to fully experience it, understand it, and eventually overcome it. This approach, advocated by Stoicism, encourages us to find peace within, rather than seeking comfort in others' opinions. Privacy also protects us from people who might use our struggles against us. Some people, intentionally or not, weaponize vulnerability. They take what we've shared in a moment of openness and turn it into gossip, judgment, or at times even an advantage. It's a harsh reality, but one we must consider. The Stoics would argue that we protect ourselves by being cautious, by choosing who has access to our pain and struggles. Not everyone who listens has earned that privilege, and by withholding certain truths, we keep a part of ourselves safe from misuse. Lastly, holding back on sharing every struggle doesn't mean you're closing yourself off or building walls. It means you're selectively choosing who joins you on this journey, who has proven to be worthy of your trust. Seneca often spoke about the value of true friendship, those rare individuals who can see you at your lowest and not judge, who lift you up without casting shadows of doubt. These people, the ones who stand by you without needing explanations or public declarations, are the ones we should confide in. Our struggles are part of our story, but they don't define us. They're chapters in a larger narrative, but not the entire book. By keeping them private, we maintain control over our story, allowing ourselves the freedom to grow without external interference. So remember, you don't owe your struggles to anyone. Protect them, nurture them in silence, and seek strength from within. When the time comes, when you've gained wisdom and clarity, you can choose to share the lessons you've learned, not the pain you endured. Money is a subject that makes people uncomfortable and intrigued at the same time. While talking about finances seems almost encouraged in our social media-driven world, the Stoics would advise a different path, one of discretion and privacy. To the Stoics, the value of a person was never measured by wealth, possessions, or financial status, but rather by their character, resilience, and wisdom. Money, they believed, was merely a tool, a means to live, not the essence of life itself. And for that reason, our financial situation is something that deserves careful consideration before we decide to share it with others. First, there's the danger of envy. When we openly share our financial wins, whether it's a job promotion, a significant investment, or a new purchase, we may unintentionally invite jealousy from those around us. Even close friends or family can feel resentment, often subconsciously, when they compare their own situation to yours. The Stoics were acutely aware of the destructive power of envy and advocated for humility in all aspects of life, particularly regarding wealth. They understood that openly displaying wealth could disrupt friendships, breed hostility, and create unnecessary barriers between people. By keeping financial matters private, we avoid fostering this unhealthy comparison that often arises, allowing relationships to be built on genuine respect and mutual support, rather than silent competition. On the flip side, sharing financial struggles can also have negative consequences. Imagine you're going through a rough patch financially. Maybe you're in debt, struggling with expenses, or just trying to make ends meet. When you share this with the wrong people, it can lead to judgment, pity, or even manipulation. Seneca often warned about the tendency of people to judge others based on circumstances they barely understand. Financial hardship is a deeply personal struggle, and sharing it openly can make us vulnerable to those who don't have our best interests at heart. Some people may pretend to empathize but use this information to manipulate or control you, or even gossip about your situation behind your back. Moreover, sharing financial difficulties can shift the way others perceive you. Stoic philosophy teaches us that external circumstances, including our financial situation, do not define our inner worth or character. However, in a society that often equates money with success or failure, openly discussing financial struggles can lead others to see you through a distorted lens. They may begin to label you as struggling or unsuccessful, limiting their understanding of who you truly are. By keeping financial matters private, you retain control over how you are perceived, allowing others to know you for your values, not your bank balance. There's also an important psychological benefit to keeping finances private. Money can easily become a source of stress, anxiety, or even pride, emotions that can cloud our judgment. When we frequently discuss our finances with others, it reinforces our attachment to money, making it a more significant factor in how we measure our self-worth. The Stoics believe that true peace and happiness come from within, not from external factors like wealth. By practicing discretion with our finances, we can minimize the emotional attachment to money, focusing instead on inner growth, contentment, and self-mastery. Another consideration is the influence that sharing your finances has on decision-making. When we discuss our finances with others, we open ourselves up to unsolicited advice, opinions, and often pressure to make certain choices. People might encourage you to spend in ways that don't align with your values, or urge you to invest in things that aren't right for you. The Stoics believed in personal sovereignty, the idea that each individual has the wisdom to make decisions best suited to their own life. By keeping your financial details private, you maintain this sovereignty, making choices based on what truly benefits you, rather than the opinions or expectations of others. Let's not overlook the practical side of privacy either. When people know too much about your finances, they may feel entitled to ask for favors or loans, assuming you have the means to help them. While helping others is a noble act, it should be done out of genuine willingness, not obligation or pressure. Seneca advised caution in giving and receiving. He knew that financial entanglements could complicate even the closest of relationships. By keeping your financial situation to yourself, you avoid the discomfort of having to say no to requests that don't align with your priorities or capacity. At the core of Stoic thought is the belief that wealth is neither good nor bad. It's neutral. What matters is how we use it and how we let it influence our lives. When we focus less on flaunting our financial success or lamenting our financial struggles, we find a sense of calm. We're able to appreciate what we have without the need for validation from others, and we're less swayed by the highs and lows that often accompany financial matters. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This idea reminds us that money's true value lies not in its ability to impress others, but in how it allows us to live a life aligned with our values. In a world where social media constantly pressures us to share every aspect of our lives, choosing to keep finances private is an act of self-respect. It's a way of protecting our mental peace, our relationships, and our sense of self-worth. The Stoics would remind us that just because we can share doesn't mean we should. Financial privacy allows us to manage our resources wisely without external influence or judgment, and to cultivate a mindset where wealth serves us rather than defines us. So, let's take a step back when it comes to finances. Practice the Stoic virtue of restraint. Let your financial choices, successes and challenges remain yours. Share only with those you trust deeply, those who offer constructive support without judgment. In doing so, you'll find that financial privacy brings not only peace of mind, but also the freedom to live authentically without the weight of others' opinions. Because in the end, your worth is not measured by your bank account, but by the strength of your character and the wisdom with which you navigate the journey of life. Kindness is one of the most beautiful things we can offer the world. When we do something good for someone else, it can be transformative both for them and for us. But here's the thing. True kindness doesn't need an audience. In fact, the Stoics would argue that the purest acts of kindness are those done quietly, without seeking praise or recognition. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, taught that virtue is its own reward. He believed that we should do good not to be seen, but because it aligns with our character and brings out the best in us. So why do we feel the urge to announce our good deeds? And what might we gain by keeping them private? When you perform an act of kindness, like helping a friend in need, donating to charity, or simply lending a listening ear, there's an immediate temptation to share it. Maybe we want others to know we're thoughtful, generous, or compassionate. While there's nothing wrong with feeling good about our actions, seeking external validation can dilute the meaning behind them. The Stoics teach us to look inward for our sense of worth. If we need applause to feel good about helping someone, then are we truly being kind, or are we simply looking for a way to boost our own ego? Stoicism encourages us to focus on our intentions, not the outcome. When we help others quietly, we're motivated by a genuine desire to make a positive impact, not by the anticipation of how others will react. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, often reminded himself to act virtuously regardless of who was watching. He believed that virtue, when genuine, doesn't seek rewards or recognition. True kindness, according to Stoicism, is selfless. It's about lifting others up simply because we can, not because we want credit for doing so. There's also a certain peace that comes from keeping our kindness private. When you do something good without telling anyone, it becomes a personal victory. It's a reminder of your character, a quiet affirmation of who you are. This type of inner fulfillment is much more lasting than the fleeting rush we get from others' praise. The Stoics believed in cultivating inner strength and self-approval. When you're kind without the need for recognition, you're building a sense of self that's grounded in who you are, not how others perceive you. Now, of course, there are times when sharing our good deeds can inspire others, and that's valuable too. But the Stoics would advise caution. When we share with the intent to inspire, we must be honest about our motivations. Are we sharing to truly encourage others to act, or are we hoping to receive some recognition ourselves? It's a subtle difference, but one worth examining. If our goal is to spark positive action, then it's best done humbly, without putting ourselves at the center. Seneca said, "The wise man is content with doing right and needs no other reward." In other words, Let the act itself be the inspiration, not the storyteller. Another reason to keep acts of kindness private is that it protects the dignity of those we help. When we publicize our good deeds, especially if they involve helping someone in a vulnerable position, it can make them feel exposed or even embarrassed. Stoicism teaches us to respect others and treat them with the same dignity we would want for ourselves. By keeping our kindness quiet, we show a deep respect for the privacy of others. Imagine if every time someone helped us, they felt the need to announce it. It would create a sense of obligation or discomfort. True kindness is about easing others' burdens, not adding to them. Let's also consider how performing acts of kindness quietly builds resilience. When we do good without the expectation of praise, we're practicing self-discipline, a core Stoic value. It's a way of training ourselves to find fulfillment in the act itself, rather than in external rewards. This strengthens our character, making us less reliant on others for validation. We become more grounded, more centered, because our sense of self isn't tied to others' opinions. Instead, it's anchored in our actions and our intentions. There's a powerful analogy in Stoic philosophy that likens virtue to a flame. A flame burns regardless of whether anyone sees it. It provides light and warmth simply because that's its nature. In the same way, our kindness should shine naturally, not because we're looking for someone to notice, but because it's part of who we are. When we do good without an audience, we become that steady flame, unmoved by others' opinions, unwavering in our commitment to virtue. And here's something else to consider. By not sharing every act of kindness, we leave room for humility to grow. It's easy to feel proud of our good deeds, but humility reminds us that kindness is a natural part of being human, not something that elevates us above others. The Stoics believe that humility is essential to a balanced life. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In the same way, if we crave acknowledgement for our kindness, we're missing out on the true richness of giving freely. By keeping our kindness private, we nurture a humble heart, one that gives without expecting anything in return. Finally, there's something incredibly freeing about letting our kindness be unobserved. It releases us from the cycle of seeking validation and lets us experience the joy of giving in its purest form. Epictetus would remind us that we are only responsible for our actions, not how others perceive them. So, when we give without anyone knowing, we experience the rare joy of truly selfless action. We're not performing, we're simply expressing our values. It's a freedom that comes from knowing that our actions are driven by our own inner compass, not by the gaze of others. In a world that often rewards performance over sincerity, choosing to keep our kindness quiet is a revolutionary act. It's a commitment to live by our own values, to be kind because it's the right thing to do, not because it's seen. The Stoics would tell us that this quiet kindness, this self-contained virtue, is one of the highest forms of strength. It allows us to give freely without losing ourselves in the process. In a world that encourages us to broadcast every intention and ambition, the idea of keeping your next move private might seem old-fashioned. But according to Stoic philosophy, there's great wisdom in moving quietly, in letting your actions, not your words, do the talking. The Stoics believe that our energy is precious and that sharing our plans too soon can drain us or even derail our path. So, why is it so powerful to keep your next move to yourself? When you reveal your plans before you act, you expose them to external opinions, judgments, and even doubts. Think about it. How often have you shared an idea only to be met with unsolicited advice, skepticism, or negativity? Suddenly, what felt like a clear path becomes foggy, weighed down by others' fears and biases. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, taught that our minds should be like a fortress, shielded from unnecessary influences. By keeping your next move private, you protect that fortress. You keep your vision pure, free from the noise that could cloud your judgment or shake your confidence. There's also something deeply empowering about moving in silence. When you keep your intentions to yourself, you're not performing for anyone. You're not worried about impressing others or meeting anyone's expectations but your own. It's just you and your goals working together in alignment. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, would say that we shouldn't let our happiness depend on things outside our control, including other people's approval or understanding. By keeping your next move private, you make it something sacred, something that belongs only to you. You're free to pursue it without the distraction of how others might react. Let's not forget the strategic advantage of moving quietly. Life, in many ways, is like a game of chess. Every move counts, and revealing your strategy too early gives others a chance to counteract it. Not everyone around you wants to see you succeed, even if they seem supportive on the surface. Some people feel threatened by the idea of others progressing, as it reminds them of their own stagnation or unfulfilled goals. By keeping your plans private, you remove the opportunity for others to sabotage, discourage, or distract you. In the words of the Stoics, you're protecting your inner peace, choosing to focus on what you can control, your own efforts and decisions. Keeping your next move private also allows you the freedom to adapt. Life is unpredictable, and plans often need to be adjusted or even completely rethought. If you've already told everyone about your next big move, there's an unspoken pressure to follow through, even if it no longer feels right. The Stoics believed in flexibility, in responding wisely to the present moment, rather than stubbornly clinging to plans that might not serve us anymore. When you keep your next move to yourself, you give yourself permission to pivot without the burden of explaining yourself to others. You can change course freely, knowing that your decisions are based on what's best for you, not on anyone else's expectations. Then there's the psychological impact. Every time we talk about our plans, we get a small burst of satisfaction, almost as if we've already achieved something. It's like celebrating at the starting line before the race has even begun. This is why the Stoics emphasize the importance of action over words. When you share your plans prematurely, you risk losing the motivation to actually follow through because part of you feels like you've already done the work. By keeping your intentions private, you save that energy, allowing it to build up and fuel your efforts instead of dissipating through idle talk. When you do finally reveal your next move, let it be through your actions, not your words. Imagine the power of unveiling something you've been working on quietly, something that's fully realized without anyone having expected it. There's strength in that kind of silent dedication, and it speaks volumes about your commitment and discipline. Success, as the Stoics would say, doesn't need an announcement. It becomes evident through the impact you make, through the results of your efforts. When you reveal your next move after you've taken action, people are more likely to recognize and respect the accomplishment because it's tangible, not just a promise. The Stoics understood that we often crave validation from others, but they taught that true contentment comes from within. When you keep your plans private, you're practicing self-reliance. You're saying to yourself, I trust my own judgment. I don't need anyone else's approval to pursue what I believe in. This self-trust is a core aspect of Stoic resilience. By choosing not to broadcast your intentions, you're training yourself to find strength in your own convictions, rather than in the opinions or encouragement of others. This builds a foundation of inner confidence that can withstand any setback or challenge. And let's talk about the peace that comes with moving in silence. When no one knows your next move, You're free from the constant questioning and scrutiny that often accompanies big decisions. There's no pressure to explain yourself, no need to justify your path to anyone. This peace allows you to stay focused on what matters, putting in the work, refining your skills, and staying committed to your goals. In a world that's constantly pulling us in different directions, this kind of focus is invaluable. It's a quiet power, a calm assurance that lets you progress without interference. Finally, consider the lesson of humility in keeping your plans private. Stoicism values humility, recognizing that while we may plan, we're not entirely in control of the outcome. By keeping your next move to yourself, you're acknowledging that success is not guaranteed, and you're preparing to face whatever comes without the weight of others' expectations. It's a reminder that our journey is about growth, resilience, and wisdom, not just reaching a specific destination. When we move quietly, we're honoring this journey, allowing ourselves to learn, adapt, and evolve in private before stepping into the spotlight. So, as you move forward, remember this: in a world that's constantly demanding noise, there is immense power in silence. Protect your plans, your peace, and your purpose. Let your actions speak louder than any words, and let the life you build be your testament.